friends, it's Carly and I'm back again with another review. So I have finally gotten all of my pre-orders in that I have been waiting for a million years, and now I can do all of the reviews I've wanted to do. So I am going to go back to an every other day schedule until I get through the Venompool BAF series, because those are the ones I've wanted to do the most. They've taken the longest to get here. I know that these reviews are late, but I'm still really excited to talk about them. So make sure that you guys are subscribed to my channel, have your notifications bells turned on, and you can check my posting schedule on my Facebook page. It's the Annoying You with Friendship Facebook page, or you can find me at Annoying Car on Facebook, and also Your Annoying Friend Car on Instagram with underscores under all of the words. So with that said, we are going to dive right in today to the first figure in the Venompool BAF series, and I'm going to do it a little bit differently today. We'll talk about that as we take our first look at Ghost Spider. So Ghost Spider, as you guys know, is Gwen Stacy. She is from Earth 35. We'll talk a little bit about her story. These are the things that I want to do a little bit differently. I kind of want to get back to talking about a little bit about the character, at least the things that I find interesting if I don't know a lot. If I don't know anything, I'm going to learn a little something. I feel like those videos were a lot more fun when I would actually try to learn something new, and it really got me onto a lot of great characters that I didn't know about. And as I talked about in my live stream, because I missed like Ultimate Carnage, and I've never really gotten into a lot of Venom or Carnage or any of those symbiote books, I'm excited to get to know more of these characters this way. So that's one thing I'm going to do differently. The second thing, and the reason that I'm starting off with Spider-Gwen, is because she is one of my favorite characters. I am so excited to have this figure. And I feel like I've sort of gotten into a rut talking about these female figures outside of the G.I. Joe Classified series line. So I'm really not going to talk about any of the old things that I've talked about being what I feel like is missing from every single female figure that Hasbro is essentially turning out for the Marvel Legends lines right now. And instead, I'm just going to talk about what we have. So this is the way that Hasbro is making these female figures, and let's be honest, there's still some that I've really enjoyed. So I'm not going to harp on the things that I want them to change overall, and we're just going to talk about the figure as it's presented, and if I feel like I can get any type of enjoyment out of this figure, regardless of all the other things that I might have hoped that they would add or change. I feel like that's just going to keep things a little bit more positive and be a much more usable review, a review that, like, if you know, talking about a figure that is what it is, and if you know nothing else, is this a figure that you would want to have? I think that's just a better way to approach it rather than continuing on beating a dead horse over something that isn't going to change anytime soon. So please let me know what you guys think in the comments about going back to a little bit of storytelling about the character. Let me know what you think about me talking about this rather than trying to maybe sort of, not trying to, but it feels like I've just been sort of shaking my finger at Hasbro for not trying hard enough, and to me it's just gotten to be kind of a downer. But I want to hear your thoughts about it, so make sure you let me know in the comments below. So let's talk about this Gwen Stacy. So Gwen Stacy from Earth 65 is, I believe she's a college student. She is in a punk band called the Mary Janes with Mary Jane. Peter Parker is her best friend, and they are also really close with Harry Osborn. So in this version of the story, she is bitten by a radioactive spider and becomes Spider-Woman. She is a hero, and Peter Parker starts to really idolize her and wants to be like her. So he starts to use his brilliant mind to experiment, and in an experiment gone wrong, that turns him into a creature that's sort of like the lizard. He dies. And Gwen is on her way to try to save him, but the way that everything shakes out when she arrives and he dies in her arms, it looks to the public like she killed him. So she becomes a bad guy, as so many of our spider folk are wont to do. It's really sad. And she can't seem to forgive herself because she feels that she could have done more to save Pete. So moving on from there, she joins, I think we very first see her in Web Warriors. We do. So she joins the Web Warriors, which is sort of a dimension-hopping group of spiderkin that all fight crime together. So that Web Warrior series from Web Warriors series from 2014 was actually really fun, and it had all of the people that you might recognize from the Spider-Verse. I think they're fighting a variety of versions of Electro, which is really fun, from all different dimensions. It's a really fun series, but that brings us Spider-Gwen. So then she moves on to Edge of the Spider-Verse, and we learn a little bit more about her struggles. So let's talk about the name Ghost Spider. So the name Ghost Spider doesn't actually have anything to do with this particular version of her symbiote suit, which we'll talk about in a second. She ends up taking the name Ghost Spider after having a number of falling outs with the law, including even being sentenced to prison and serving time in prison. She gets out of prison and decides that she's going to leave Earth 65 and go to Earth 313 to go to college and try to be a normal person. Her spider persona follows her there, and ultimately she goes home, but she decides that she just needs to start fresh. People are kind of getting used to her again, giving her the benefit of the doubt and trusting her. And the reason that she chooses the name Ghost Spider is not only to separate from Spider-Gwen, which was the name that the people started to call her, and her former Spider-Woman, but actually super sad because she feels like so many people so close to her, like Peter and versions of Peter and other close friends in other dimensions, continue to die. And she feels like just being close to her is a death sentence, and that is what leads her to choose the name Ghost Spider. It's such a sad story. But something fun that comes out of that is that when she's a member of the Web Warriors, she becomes really super close with Peter Porker because he is just like her friend Peter. The personality is the same in so many ways. So many of the things that she loved about Peter are the same, but she doesn't have to see her long lost friend's face. Since he's passed away, she can be friends with Peter Porker, and she doesn't have to always see Pete and think about what happened to him in her world. So that is the story of how she got her name. It's a very long one. This symbiote suit, though, is really interesting because it is actually made up of a bunch of symbiote spiders. And Gwen learns from Peter that, so she gets a lot of powers from them. It's, a positive symbiotic relationship, but she has to eat enough for all of them. She has to support all of them. And she has to keep her health and well-being in balance, obviously, with the symbiotes, or bad things can happen, as we all know. So it is a bit of a struggle for her. And you can definitely see that in this version of the suit, which I think is really beautifully done. What I like about this version of the character and this figure is the way that they maintain the Spider-Gwen color palette in a really clever way. So her color palette is typically a white suit with black detailing. She's got her ballet flats, which are teal, and then she usually has like a neon pink webbing, and the interior of her hood is pink like this. So you can see how they worked that into the symbiote version of her suit, which I think is really great, and having the tongue really sort of be the pink carry through is such a clever detail that they capture really, really well on this figure. She is sort of a punk rock chick, so I love the little jacket. And obviously they're using the source material with this figure, but I think they captured it really, really well. This is a vinyl jacket, and the hood is vinyl, but it is attached to her head. So you can't remove her or push it back, which she does sometimes in the story, but it's such a distinct, awesome look. I don't really think you would want to. So I'm really happy with the way that she looks. She doesn't come with any type of accessories at all, but I think she looks fantastic the way that she is. So the first thing I wanted to know, obviously, was what we get with the head with this crazy tongue. And, it's fine. The range of motion is fine. The tongue is a little bit awkward. You kind of have to get creative with it as you're moving her head and deciding like what you're going to do with it. But it's very flexible, so you can do pretty much whatever you want to do. So there was really no hindrance in that for me. As far as articulation goes, it was great. I've already shown you a little bit as I was talking the great range of motion you get with her arms, which I think is great. Her shoulders go all the way up, and there's a lot of mobility in the shoulders and in the elbow. So in the elbow, we can turn all the way around, obviously. And then we're getting a really nice bend here. But what's really awesome is that you can kind of get these like sort of really creepy poses with these like claw-like hands that she's got. And she's got this awesome webbing behind her wrist that is just really dramatic and creepy looking. So her arm flexibility is amazing. You can do all kinds of crazy poses. There's all kinds of web slinging looks that you can do. There's flexible swinging poses you can do. I made a silly picture this morning of her like dangling off of my coffee cup, just playing with her, but you can sort of get an idea of all the things you can do with these arms and these sort of clutching claw hands, which are really, really impressive and creepy looking. I love them. Then we have all of her turning is here in the upper portion of her abdomen, and it's really functional. There's no hang up of any type or kind all the way around. It's very smooth. She does not have much for an ab crunch, so she's not leaning forward very much, and she's not leaning back very much. But most of the movement in the spider characters is really in the arms and legs coming up like this. So I played around with her a lot and was able to get some really, really great movement in the arms and legs. So the minimal like lost movement in the torso just by not being able to bend forward and back didn't end up affecting anything that I wanted to do with her. The legs are really flexible from the hip. They turn out to a really nice degree. We've got a turning thigh, which is excellent. We've got a turning calf on this figure, which is really cool. And then really great flexible feet that we're always used to seeing that go in every which direction. So the points of articulation on her are really, really good. And even with this crazy tongue accessory, you're still able to do a lot of fun stuff with her. There are some puzzling things, some things that look a little bit strange to me. I do think that the tongue is a little bit long. So while I like it, and I appreciate the things that are positive design-wise about it, going past her feet makes it a little bit awkward unless she's like in a flying pose if you have her suspended in some way. It's like we can kind of get the point. I kind of feel like if it would have maybe just like wrapped around her thigh, like to here or something like that. I don't know. I think there might have been better ways to do it. So that's something that's a little bit off for me. And she does have these really strange little hooked pointy toes, which I think is really supposed to just invoke the symbiote themselves. I remember her entire suit is made out of a ton of symbiote spiders all sort of bound together. So there's sort of like a claw, like foot, I don't know. It's a little bit strange. I don't know that it reads however they were intending it to read. If it were painted white, it might work better. If it were like an extension outside, like if it were showing that she's in a living symbiote suit, and so it wasn't just part of the color scheme. If it was like a white claw or something that was like the claw on the back of her arm, it might have worked a little bit better. As is, it just looks a little bit silly. And quite frankly, I've thought a lot about it and been looking at it and might try to like find a paint to match it and just clip that portion off. I don't know. We'll see. It doesn't hinder anything about the way that she stands. She stands really well and she looks really, really good. And those are honestly the only two things that I have to complain about. The paintwork on mine was good. You know, when you're blending so many colors close, like dark and light colors close together on a figure like this that is so mass produced, you're gonna have some imperfections, but overall I think she looks really, really good. The teeth on the tongue are all really stand out white. They don't have a lot of bleeding over. They look really, really cool. The webbing on the shoes looks beautiful. I love the way that they capture this sort of midnight blue rather than just making her suit black, because it isn't. So the dark navy midnight blue works really well. I'm really happy with the overall design, and she's fun and easy to play with. So the mechanics that she comes with work really, really well. And you can get tons of fun, interesting, spidery type poses out of her. So I am really, really happy with this figure. I'm happy to have her. And as soon as I decided that I was going to talk about her, I got onto Marvel Ultimate and started reading Spider-Gwen and Ghost Spider's comics again, and they're so good, you guys. I cannot recommend them enough. So it's got me back into reading a series that I love about a character that I love, and it's just a really great addition to my collection. So I'm super, super stoked to have her. I can recommend her to anyone, and I definitely recommend these. I think it's like 4 series of comics. They're so worthwhile and so much fun. So that is my story about Ghost Spider. Let me know what you guys think about talking a little bit about the story and the characters. Obviously, I can't know anything, so if you guys have anything to add, I would love to hear your thoughts and your additions. If this is a favorite character of yours, if I missed anything, add those in the comments below and let me know what I should read to get caught up and be well informed. If you guys have a preference on which figure you'd like me to talk about next, put those in the comments as well, and I will do it. And if you have recommendations of comics for me to read on any of these figures in the series, let me know and I will do that too. That is that on Spider-Gwen, and that is my first review in a minute, so it's good to be back, and I will be back with you guys the day after tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, friends.